Welcome back to Krown's Kid OK. Finally feeling like I just kicked this cold. And speaking of cold, it's actually cold as fuck out right now in Chicago, Illinois. Feels like someone just flipped the switch down to 38 degrees Fahrenheit. What is that in Celsius? I don't know. Actually, I have no idea. Anyways, I can tell you this. It's cold as fuck. I do want to follow up with what I announced earlier this week with the Krown trading app. I want to reiterate its purpose. The purpose of this app is at first going to be a web-based app that we are aiming to have released on November 1st. Then later on, we're going to release it on iOS and Android devices, of course, as well. But at first, it'll actually just be web-based, as that's going to be the easiest route to kind of bring it up into fruition. And the purpose of the app is to essentially be something that I would actually use myself, that has all the information that I'm looking for in just one singular place. The base app will be free, and there will also be paid tiers on it for people who want to invest in, say, the technical analysis program or the options program or the Joule indicators, which that leads me on to my next point. Yes, you'll be able to get onto it there, which also means, and also a huge thing that's been asked for quite a bit, will allow you to view those videos at any time offline once they're downloaded, essentially. So you'll actually have that instead of having to have internet access, which right now can be a little bit of a pain for some people. Also, for the Joule itself, we will no longer be selling it actually on Teachable. What will be, and that means no more lifetime access, as right now, whenever you pay for it, you essentially get it for life. And we're going to actually switch that over to a monthly subscription on this app, as well, it just makes more sense. It's more feasible. And realistically, we kind of want to clamp down a little bit on entry into that, as well, that's become my main source of edge. So I do want to make sure that it retains its edge, which I don't think that there's any real issue of it actually losing it. I mean, this is a world market at the end of the day. Jesus Christ, it's gonna take more than more than a few people to actually be using it to reduce that. I mean, shit, probably need hundreds of thousands, I would imagine, and even then, I mean, RSI still works, doesn't it? So at the end of the day, that's one of the purposes for that. And I just want to reiterate that for anyone in those programs, nothing will be taken away from what you are doing right now. Only things will be added for you. Only things will be added. That was very important to me. So we've gone out of the way to make sure that we can actually do that. We can pull in everyone's username and whatnot and directly give you access once the app is ready. So I'm quite excited about that. And like I said, also with regards to the actual content itself, you'll be able to buy it on there, so that it'll be with you at all times. And that also means that you can put it on your computer as well, because it's going to be a web-based application. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself right now. Again, the tentative release date for the first iteration of that will be hopefully November 1st. And so with that said, I think I want to get into some magic internet money business right now, as Bitcoin starting to show some signals once again. So with that said, let's get into the live scene. I want to wish you the best, also the happiest of the happiest as well. And teleportation initiated. And actually, there it is. Bitcoin on the not 4 hour. Let's go to the daily right here. And what do we have? So I just kind of want to cover up what happened over this past week and what we're looking at in the more proximal times on Bitcoin. And as you can see, the big news with this past week is that we have still yet to get back above this critical 8650-ish region right here. A lot of people have been asking me why I think that this area is so critical. It's because all these major moving averages are now coming in line with this region, and actually the exponentials are getting negative slopes. Now, of course, the simple hasn't got there just yet. It's going to take a while for it to get a negative slope, but you can see that there's pressure down. As long as we're operating below this region, I'm essentially bearish. As long as we're operating below this region, that also means that if we get back above this region, 8650, I would be at the very least bullish for move to the low 9,000s, like 9200, 9100 region. But likely I'd probably be looking for more if that were to happen. But that's why this area is such a critical pivot. And I am biased to the downside as long as we're below it. Of course, in the lower time frames, you're going to have your rallies and you're going to have your bounces and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, if I'm looking for the trending trade, I'll be looking for the short. And so right now I'm positionless right now, or exposureless is what I should say, because I do have positions. Just I don't have any real exposure on them because they're all hedged off. And what I'm waiting for right here, as far as the greater trend goes, is either a break above that area that we just spoke about, 8650, at which point I'd love to get long. long in the pants as well. And to the downside, yes, we can play the range within this region, but as far as the macro goes, I can't really trade for the downside, at least in the way that I've been looking at it, until we actually break fully and formally on a daily doodle time frame this blue 3/7 cent exponential moving average right here. So essentially, if you wanted to just nail this down to 2 moving averages, you could be using the 200 exponential moving average and the 3/7 cent exponential moving average right here. Break, as long as we're operating between that, it's just consolidation. I would say that it errs on the side of a bearish consolidation, but I wouldn't really be taking the bearish trade until we actually break below this guy right here. And at that point in time, yes, I could be targeting move all the way down towards the $7,000 mark. In fact, I would say even a little bit lower than that, into the upper 6,000s in this blue box territory right here, kind of aligned with our middle of May lows, as you can see. Also coming in with just nice structural horizontal support, and not only that, it is the measure move off this ascending triangle, also symmetrical triangle, whatever the fuck that you want to call it, coming down from here. And let's actually get rid of this because that is no longer relevant, I suppose. But overall, this is very much valid. This measure move is very much valid as long as we are living below 86.50. If we get back above 86.50, the measure move will be violated and will be no longer relevant. So again, another reason why it's kind of important to me, and I essentially will be looking lower as long as we are holding this guy right here. Doesn't mean that we can't get back above, but as long as we are below, that's what I'm looking for to happen. And if we were to get back above, like I said, I'd be looking for a move probably back right around here, at around 9. Actually, I think I said 91 to 9200 earlier. Probably back around 93 to 9400. Actually, come back up and test the 382 Fibonacci retracement. This would start to look like a massive bear trap if that were to happen, and probably could get more bullish off that. Although technically speaking, from like the higher degree of trend, like the macro, if you're talking about like the very high time frames, technically we're not trending till we start closing weeklies back above 11,500, 12,000 bucks right here. Until that happens, it's still under pressure. Anyways, speaking of the weekly, we have seen both the weekly close for CMEs and GBTC as of yesterday. Of course, spot doesn't do it until tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. But here's CME right here, and to me, this looks like a rejection of the 21 exponential moving average to the upside. I mean, that's what it looks like on spot as well. Though spot has not set itself in stone. That's what I'm trying to say. But again, momentum oscillators on the weekly still very much bearish. Weekly Stokes have noticed the whole way down. They've blindly trading that has been the most profitable thing in the last 8 months. It looks like weekly RSI coming down to the edge of the bearish control zone and likely to bounce off it. Yes. On the first pass, but man, if we actually get caught back down below that, I'd expect this to come down much further. So yes, that $7,000 area, or I've been calling it $7,000. I really want to refer to it as like 6,800 to like 7,000 really. That is still very much valid. But only if we break the 3/7 cent exponential moving average to the downside. We have a lot of other things coming in that into that region, not just measure moves like we just looked at, but also you can see the cyan 89 exponential moving average right here coming in right around that region. Not only that, but we do have, I believe, if we throw on the volume profile, we should have a nice high value nodes coming in this region. Yes, we do, higher 6,000s right here, and you'll notice that we're kind of at the last of the Mohicans for this current higher value nodes that we're currently operating off of, which isn't really, historically speaking, it's not even that high to begin with. And below this region, really not much stopping you from those upper 6,000s right here. I have the area marked out between about 68 to 7,000 bucks, but anywhere within there is probably good enough for me. Doesn't need to be perfect, just needs to be good enough at the end of the day for a trader. Not only that, but we do have the major monthly structural areas coming in from this region at 7,000 bucks. We see the yellow 21 exponential moving average coming in right around about $7,000. The red 10 symbol has got the bullish cross above it. So let's talk about this for a second as well. The last time that we saw this cross was back on over here in April of 2016, when Bitcoin played out this pullback before launching off to $20,000 price per Bitcoin. So it's very, very common to get pulled into these crosses, as we saw back on over here the last time, and actually only time that we've actually really seen it happen. And where would that cross be happening? Right, again, around the low 7,000s actually. And not only that, if we take it just one step further and throw on the Krown bands right here, we do look at this, or at least I look at this as a confirmed rejection off the top Krown band. Again, I've been repeating this a lot of times because I want to explain myself, but I was bullish for all the way up until about here essentially. But as soon as we took out the August low and destroyed this and confirmed this as a rejection off the top Krown band, that's when it's very, very likely that we come down and test the median band, which is all the way at the 20-cent moving average, which is that silver moving average right here at about 6,800 region. So again, a lot of things lining up in that region. And I would say that I would be looking for a bounce there. It's not, it's not guaranteed to be reversal. There's no such thing as a guarantee, of course. But my point is that it'd probably be a tradable bounce, and a lot of things kind of line it up: volume, profile, structure, higher time frame, moving averages, and also these are like major areas to begin with. When we're talking about a monthly and we're looking at the 20 simple or 21 exponential moving average, that's what I'd use in traditional markets to judge if a stock over a long period of time was generally bullish or generally bearish. When above, generally bullish; when below, generally bearish. And you can see that Bitcoin plays off it quite well over time. Anyways, let's go into the low time frames now. I haven't really talked about them at all, and I want to follow up from yesterday, because yesterday I said that Bitcoin lost 8,300. I'd be looking for it to come back down to this area right here. Looking at price action today, it doesn't look like that's a huge deal for Bitcoin. We're kind of in no man's land. I think that I was just trying to do a little bit too much on the lower time frames, and I want to call myself out when I'm doing something like this, because it's bad technical analysis. What it is, just trying to do too much essentially. So what I was going off of is I had a horizontal like somewhere right here, I'd imagine. Yeah, so somewhere right here, which does look right, but Bitcoin not playing around with it. So I have to call a spade and say that was a bad one on my own behalf, and realistically I should be just completely neutral in a range like this. Lower time frame oscillators are getting beat up a lot here, but I'm not seeing anything obvious. So here's your 4-hour Stokes coming all the way down, starting to curl around. 3-hour Stokes are already turning up. 2-hour Stokes definitely up. Hourly Stokes going to be up as well. Actually, they're coming down right now, so not really getting like a huge agreement between them all. We do see a little bit of accumulation going on here on an hourly, but it's fucking hourly, right? I don't really put too much weight on it. More important to me is actually the horizontal that we're looking at right here, lined up with the 382 Fibonacci retracement, coming off the 0.5 rejection that we saw a couple days prior. Anyways, the reason why this one's relevant is because as long as we're below this area on the lower time frames, Jesus Christ, man, my laundry just finished, and it just did like the most devilish sound to announce itself. But as long as we're below this pivot right here, I would say that there's technically more pressure down, and any sort of a lower time frame bouncy bounce probably brings us right around there and does get rejected. But the thing is that I'm not really seeing like good clarity on the whole, on the greater picture between all these different things, and that's what I really look for to be more confident of the direction. And when I typically call things, that's why, is because there's just too many things agreeing with each other. Right now I don't feel that way, and I don't really have a position to represent that yet either. If we go to the medium time frames, they are it's a hard one to say right now. The 10-hour Stokes and 12-hour Stokes have been phenomenal, and both of them are actually pointed down right now, coming from the same area as well. However, looking at both, looking at the Stokes for those would both be on the bearish side, but looking at the RSI for both those, I'd have to be more neutral on it. 12-hour RSI is actually working its way up here and being constructive. Same thing with 10-hour RSI as well. Actually, no, it's getting rejected right now. So perhaps I could say that it's a little bit more on the bearish side, but again, it's really splitting hairs right now. To me, you can see that we're obviously getting picked up in this region right here on the lower time frames, and the higher time frames like 10-hour, 12-hour are showing a little bit supports within this region. Now 12-hour is showing resistance in this region, whereas 10-hour shows support. So it's being cut so tight is what I'm trying to show, that I don't really have an interest in trading it. And if I had to take a position here, I suppose I would take a short, and it'd probably be targeted back down to like 8,100 maybe, and hold that position as long as we're below like 8,400 right here. But even that would be probably unnecessary. Like I said, it's the horizontal right here lined up with the 382 at about 8,450 that undoes this and will confirm this as a short form of accumulation, which again, we're looking at lower time frames here. I want to call it, like, make no mistake about it, I'm not looking at this to fucking reverse Bitcoin around, anything like that. No. But I would be looking at it, to drive another run back up to our prior high from a couple days ago, right around 8650 to 8700. So if we did regain 8450 on like an hourly total closing basis, I would look for that to get extended another $200-$300 up here, and then, well, that's puts us right at the critical zone once again to the upside. So that would be what I'd be looking for if Bitcoin were to salvage itself right now. But to me, this is a clear and obvious rejection, and likely to get follow through. But again, does it get follow through today or tomorrow? Well, I'm not so sure about that. Daily Stokes are actually having a bearish reset right now. You see price action essentially going flat the whole last 2 weeks right here. It's just come back into if you drew a regression, it'd be coming in right here, and you see that Daily Stokes have been working their way up the whole way. That's usually just allowing it to reset. Daily RSI not really telling us too much. Still in the bearish control zone. Daily historical volatility percentile is expanding still, so I am led to believe that, if that's still expanding and we broke to the downside out of this 3-month-long consolidation, then that's likely to beget continuation. But again, nothing's super conclusive right now. Today we did close below the 10 simple. On last night's close. So I would be a little more bearish on that. Probably, this one actually suggests that we come down a little bit further, maybe 7,900. 2-day Stokes popping back up a little bit. So, it's again, disagreement. 2-day RSI looks like kind of wants to maintain this region, get back above the exponential, which, would make me not bearish on it. Again, there's nothing obvious right now in the charts. 3 days getting rejected, but that's not conclusive. 3-day getting rejected by the red 10 simple right here is a little bit more damning, but getting picked up by the 89 creates a nice little tight range. And again, that's basically our lower time frame range. So, do we get a new one later tonight? We do. So yeah, perhaps if we do close on the lows, or if we close below the 89 exponential moving average, which is 82.50, then I would be looking for a continuation back down to the low side of the range, and perhaps an actual break on top of that. So that would be tradable. So now we're starting to get somewhere. But other than that, 3-day Stokes, they're actually looking to cross the upside, and they probably will, assuming that we don't have that dump later tonight and we get that next tick. And of course, we already looked at the weekly. Weekly looks like a rejection of the yellow 20-month exponential moving average, and of course, I think it's appropriate to show this as well. Going back into the history of Bitcoin, Bitcoin loves to play off that weekly 21 exponential moving average, historically speaking, and we do see that in generally bullish markets, that's where it likes to dump down to, and in generally bearish markets, that's where it likes to pump up to and get rejected from. Of course, in the bull markets, it's a lot more accurate in catching the lows, but you can see that we've never closed. We've certainly never closed one. We've definitely never opened and closed a weekly doodle below the 21 exponential moving average ever during a generally upwards market. And so we certainly not just closed one, we've opened and closed one, and now we're getting rejected once again. Assuming that we do end, basically anywhere below 86.50, I'd say that would have to be interpreted as a rejection. So, it makes it difficult for me to be overall bullish, especially as long as below this region as well. Not only that, but we do see both the red 10 simple and the yellow 21 having negative slopes here. I don't really like that. The only time that we ever see them have negative slopes together is when Bitcoin's prolonged down. Over here it's up the whole way, or at least, if the red 10 simple gets a negative slope, the 21 exponential moving average will not get a negative slope. It'll still maintain a positive slope. But right now we have both getting negative slopes, so that's just not good. So again, I am biased to the downside here, and I do think that it would be unlikely that Bitcoin reverses back up, to 9,000 from here. Could it happen? Yes, but like I said, 86.50 very, very critical for me to be even a believer in something like that. And that, and now drastically change everything, to be fair. So make no mistake about it. It can change, but right now, as it stands, looking more nasty than not, I would say. Anyways, not only that, let's actually do a little bit more of a deep dive. I think that it's time to, I think it's time to break out a little bit more of the bigger guns here. So let's go over to the 12-hour doodle time frame. I'm actually going to take off, everything except for... we can leave on all these guys because there's something to say about all of them. Okay, so 12-hour is Death Cross. That happened late last week, I believe it was. Or maybe 2 weeks ago, something like that, right around here. And more importantly, with that, we've never seen a death cross on the 12-hour doodle time frame in a bullish market ever. So to me, this is a change of behavior. We got the golden cross right here on that massive girthy green dildo on April 1st, leading us up for the next 3 months of rally. And before that, where was our last death cross before that? It was basically over here during February 2018 and led us the whole way through the bear market. So, blindly shorting this area right here would have been a terrible idea, but it got the momentum right. And my point is that when we get crosses on the golden cross and death cross moving averages, they play out for long periods of time. And of course, the last time that we were golden cross before that was going all the way back here. all the way back here towards October 2015 before this massive rally to the upside. So I do want to point that out. Not only that, but I do want to talk about this as well. Look at the green 55 exponential moving average and the blue 377 exponential moving average. They are crossing to the downside right now. Historically speaking, that has added on like another layer of complexity with the intensity of the rallies or dumps in the direction of that cross, if that makes sense. So when you get the bullish cross right on over here, it's not like getting this extremely well. I mean, it tells you to long the consolidation essentially, but you probably want the 12-hour golden cross right here. But regardless of that, it tells you about the longer term trend is what I'm getting on. And again, we went all the way up from $5,000 to 14,000. I mean, it's almost a 3x. The time before that, that we were, I mean, it's going to be even less than what we were looking at. But the time before that we got death cross was right here. So it was a little bit later than the not death cross, but the bearish cross on it. But it was a little bit later than the death cross itself, happening right here. But again, got the momentum the whole way through. Told you to long a little bit later. But, when these things start to line up with each other using the higher periods, that suggests that they are more powerful. They are more strong because they have more data points. And, going back, we have basically the same results in the other one as well. So, just putting more and more downwards pressure on price action. And of course, where is this cross even happening around? Right around 86.50. And where did we just get rejected from? 86.50. I mean, that's what's scary to me right here. And as long as we're living below 84.50, I mean, that doesn't look good. If we got back above 84.50, I do think that it would. I do think that it would diminish the bearish case immediately, at least, just because if this is going to be an actual flush to the downside, and we do see another $1,000, $2,000 move to the downside, it's very unlikely that you get two chances to get a decent short in at this level right here. So if we did get back up to 84.50 and maintained above there, I'd say that this is actually greatly just increases chances of going bullish. But still, 86.50, that area to watch for myself. Daily closing basis needs to happen for me to get bullish. Anyways, let's go check out GBDC. GBDC also closed its week on the lows, I believe. Yeah, looking at the daily, let's go to a daily. Daily close basically on its lows and coming back down to that blue 377 exponential moving average base right here. GBDC is making a more obvious descending triangle on this consolidation, as you can see, and getting rejected from the 200 exponential moving average right here. But it's the same thing as what we're looking at in spot in a sense. It just looks different. Two major moving averages holding price action, break below the 377, and I'd be looking for a move back down to like 8.25, maybe lower than that. Break above the 200 exponential moving average right here, and I'd probably look for a move back up to 11.25 right here. But this is a bearish formation, drops down, and this is shaping up to be redistribution as it stands right now. Looking at the weekly for a second, weekly closed below, both open and closed below the 55 exponential moving average right here. It looks like, yeah, we did. Did we open below? Yes, we did open below, and we definitely closed below as well. So again, more pressure down in the way that I look at it, and momentum also is still showing some more room to go. I do want to check out expected moves chart while we're still on the topic of Bitcoin, and expected moves chart is curled down, is curled downwards right now. So we're squeezing to the downside. We spoke about this yesterday, and usually when you see this aggressive of a slope, price action will follow through. The edge of the first deviation is coming in right around about 81.50. So perhaps a little bit of a short-term bounce right there if we do get down around there. But if I go back to my spot prices right here, I don't really see anything in that region. So I'm inclined to think that is less important. I'm inclined to think that if we actually do move to the downside, we probably actually move down here, even though I'd say that that's less likely. But to me, the obvious support from like a lower time frame perspective would be somewhere right around here, right around, if I throw on the drawing tools, yeah, somewhere right around about 80.50, which does line up actually with the second standard deviation right here. Keep in mind that is actually less than a 5% chance of happening that we get below it. But Bitcoin's still just kind of rolling it out over here. Not really seeing, again, anything conclusive either way. Okay, what else did I want to talk about? Trying to think. Oh, yes, that's right. Let's go check out Bitcoin dominance. What are the Bitcoin DOMs doing over here? And and then we're going to talk about some a little bit new on Tether dominance as well. Bitcoin dominance is, okay, we got off a fucking 4 hour maybe. On a daily, technically we are kind of printing a falling pizza. I really dislike falling pizzas. They just have a low degree of playing out in my experience. But if we were to get back above the 70, let's call it, well, 69.9 region right here, or maybe 70 if you just want to be more conservative, I would get very, very bullish on the Bitcoin dominance chart. For right now, I am looking for this to extend the bounce up. Whoops, Jesus Christ. Sorry about that. I'm looking for this to extend the bounce up a little bit more, but I really am intentful to look at the weekly close, as I could get very easily bullish if we get back above the 200 simple, which is about 70% actually, and then I'd be looking for a lot more upside. But as long as we're kind of living below this region, I do think that we kind of drift aimlessly sideways here, which is gonna in some ways benefit the alts. So as long as we're operating within this falling wedge right here, I actually do think that alts kind of are the main benefactories of there, because we probably do come back down to test the lows of this. But I would get massively bearish on alts versus Satoshis if we broke back up above this region right here again, especially 70%, but 69.9 would probably do it for me. And I'll be looking for not an immediate move, but like a very quick move over to about 71.5%, and then continuation longer term. But for right now, it's still kind of consolidating, which I would imagine does benefit alts more than anything, versus Satoshis again, not necessarily versus US dollar. So let's go look at our traditional shitcoin index, Mr. Cardano, and just drifting aimlessly sideways here, which is kind of what you see on the on Bitcoin dominance. In fact, we are kind of printing a bear flag right here, a nice rising channel on the lows. Typically not the best thing, but again, we're caught literally in the middle of this flag formation, which I'm hesitant. I'd be hesitant to trade anything in here. This is the time where I look at my momentum oscillators, and they are more bearish. Daily Stokes coming down. Daily RSI is mostly looking like a bearish reset, mostly hanging out in the bearish control zone here. And as long as we're kind of held below, I'd say 520, there's no real immediate danger of this thing breaking out to the upside. Especially as long as we're below 520, there's nothing really to be bullish about here, like longer term. So yeah, I'd have to say I'd be looking for this one to come back down to like 460, 450, somewhere down around here to the bottom side of the range. So yeah, I'd have to be short term. I'd probably be a little bit more short term bullish on the Bitcoin dominance chart than if I'm going to be short term bearish on this guy right here. Like I said, I'd get actually bullish back above 520, but anything less than that is just ranging on the lows, which is typically not good behavior. Any sort of a pump would likely be short lived as long as we're doing that. Anyways, let's go check out what else did I want to look at? Yes, let's go look at we can actually use indices for this now. So we have an altcoin perp index, we have a mid perp index, and we have a shitcoin perp index, which they're mostly all shitcoins to be fair. But there's got to be some legitimate ones here, I'd imagine. And this chart, not all that helpful because we need a lot more history. Looks to me like we're kind of if I had to chart some here, I'd say that we're making some sort of a falling channel or descending broadening wedge, which actually typically are more likely to break out to the upside. But looking at this action right here, I would certainly not be bullish on this. I'd be looking for this one to come back down to 509.5. So I'd have to say that most altcoins probably do fall back a little bit here. See what the shitcoins are doing. Same thing. Just looks like a bearish retest of the yellow 21 exponential moving average to me. The second that we lose the red 10 simple, and I'd be looking for a move back down here. All of them look about the same, it seems. But we can go over the shitcoin, or the highly sophisticated, definitely next generation Bitcoins coming up right here. Let's go check them out. Let's start off with BNB. What's BNB looking like? The breakdown looks to me like it wants to come back down to $16. What is Zcash looking like? Zcash is sad, is what it is. This chart is sad, is the correct term. We're even making a descending triangle on the fucking lows. I mean, just goddamn, not good, man. Not good. Momentum also is turning down once again. RSI has not left the bearish control zone for like half a year. Not the best signal. Bcash, what's Bcash doing? Looks like it's caught in the red 10 symbol to me. Looks like it wants to come back down to the lows, maybe 203, 204. Tron Cash. Tron Cash looks a little bit different here, but I'd imagine if most things look like they want to come to the come down a little bit, I'd be looking for this one to come back down to 0.014. If this one does work its way back up, I'd be looking for a move back up to 18.5. Or sorry, 0.018 is what I'm trying to say, not 18.5. Neo, same thing. I mean, just held below all major movement. I can't be bullish on anything below all major movement averages ever. Are we making a falling channel here? Not really. I'm sure someone's saying that, but not really. Volume signature would not be correct for that. Just hanging on to, this is not a good signal right here. EOS. held below all, well, not below all major moving averages, but not again, all these are downtrends as they are. We need to get back above a prior high. So in this case, it'd be $4 and about 14 cents right here, and then could be bullish on it for a more medium to long term trajectory. Right now, I'm not so sure how much I trust it. Let's see what else we have. Mr. Ripple's nipples, actually not as bad as the rest. In fact, momentum also is still pointing north. So I would say that Mr. Ripple's kind of looks like he wants to come back up to 28.5 cents. Then again, if I'm going to say that most of them look like they want to come down, do I think that Ripple's going to do some different? No, not really. Monero. Oh my God, man. Monero is supposed to be legitimate too, and this is pathetic. This is pathetic here. Looks to me like it wants to come down. Next. I mean, this one's faded the whole rally already. This one's next major relevant support is going to be like $50. A little bit lower than $50. Stellar, 6 cent. Again, doesn't actually. I mean, don't get me wrong. This looks terrible. Long term, it's a long term downtrend. Again, you can't be bullish as long as you're below like 8.25 cents. What do momentum also to say here? Momentum also does actually suggest a little bit of up, so maybe we do pop back up to 6.5 cents. But same thing as Ripple. It's most of the things not looking so good. Litecoin. Oh my God. Looks to me like it wants to come back down to 53.5. It just looks like lemons being pushed off a fucking cliff the whole way. It's just a downtrend. It's just a fucking downtrend. We didn't even get a chance to test the trend line on this last rally. It's getting weaker. If this thing did have a nice little rally, I'd be looking for it to pop back up to like $65.5. But here's the thing: not only are we still downtrending, but look at the weekly. Whoops, let's go to this one maybe. Yeah, the weekly is still being held below the 200 simple moving average right here. I am not bullish on anything that is closing weekly deltas below the 200 simple. Doesn't mean that it can't get back above, but I would be extremely cautious to long anything that's still below that area. I know that some people would counterintuitively think that that's like the thing to do, because it's like, well, then when it gets back above, you have even more. It's like, well, yeah, but you don't know how long it's going to stay below that 200 simple as well. Anyways, I think we can do one more. Mr. Butyrol. What's Mr. Butyrol doing? Weekly looks like a rejection of the 21 and below all major moving averages. Daily, again, looks like just about everything else. Momentum oscillators are still actually pointing a little bit north, so maybe some hope. But if this one does break down, I'd be looking for a return back down to like 171.5. Anyways, back on a Bitcoin. Let's wrap up the low time frames and then cover up the most important things we have on the higher time frames. Lower time frames are a little bit strange here, but I think that we can do it like this. I do think that it's supposed to be short-term bearish as long as we're below 84.50. That means that we could pop back up here, still reject from here, and I'd still be looking somewhere down in this region, like 80.50 to $8,000. I am a little bit biased there just because like the overall setup, but I'm not taking trades in this direction right now. This is not, in my opinion, the time to be trading. Time to be trading options actually, of which I haven't really been doing. I've been focusing on other things this past week. Anyways. So yeah, as long as we're below this region right here, yes, I do think that it's more likely that we come back down to about 80.50s, $8,000 somewhere right around here. If we get back above 84.50, I do feel strongly that we'd come back up and test around 86.50, 8,700. So about a $200, $300 trade in order there. And at that point, that leads us up to the higher time frames, right? Because if we actually can maintain above 86.50, that would be taking out all these major moving averages right here and would make me bullish, short, medium, and semi-long time frames as well. Technically, yes, I'd be bullish for another like $600 move up to like 93, maybe 9,400, somewhere in this pocket right here, and that starts to look pretty damn good. And then we come back and reassess after that. But I'd actually be generally bullish if that were to happen. By the same token, as long as we're below 86.50, I am generally bearish. Not necessarily that I want to trade this one, and of course, looking for the next like major leg down if we are going to have like a target of 7,000 or lower, which yes, there are lower targets than that, but not really appropriate to be speaking about them right now when Bitcoin's really far away from them. I would only trade for those if we actually break on a daily total closing basis, the blue 3/7 next moving average right here, or on a 4-hour closing basis if we close below like 78.50 right here, just this last little low, that would probably do it for me. But still, Bitcoin looks to be like it's kind of winding up and tightening up and getting ready for the move, which probably doesn't happen until we get a new weekly. So today, I'd imagine it's probably going to be more ranging behavior. Range meaning between 84.50 and like 81.50, we'll call it. and with a slight downside bias, I suppose. But realistically, I have no intent to trade this, and I really want to wait for the next week of price action, which I do think we get resolution on this formation, which right now does look like it's kind of shaping up to be more like redistribution rather than accumulation. I know people are calling this Wyckoff accumulation right here, and yes, on a 4-hour, it actually really does look like that, to be fair. But here's the thing about Wyckoff: you want to see Wyckoff on like a daily or weekly, or in some cases a monthly for like massive history. Daily, weekly preferred though. And if you're looking at it on a 4-hour, you're going to get 4-hour results, right? Accumulation on a 4-hour is only going to take you so far. Accumulation on a daily, weekly is going to take you quite a ways. I mean, look at this. This is accumulation on a weekly right here. If we go back to 2014, 2015, this is massive accumulation right here, all the way from January 2015 to like October, November of 2015. So like almost a year. And what did that precipitate? I mean, this massive run to the upside. So pretty damn impressive overall. Anyways, I'm getting a little bit off topic here. I want to close out with that statement. Basically, if you want to make this simple right now, 86.50 the upside, or all these major moving averages, if we take those up to the upside, I'm looking for a move towards 93.94. Break the 3.7 10x exponential moving average to the downside. I'm looking for a move towards like $7,000, more likely upper 6,000s essentially. Anyways, I'm hungry as fuck, man. I am going to go eat as much meat as possible. And that's not a... Never mind. Never mind. I won't get onto that one. Anyways, if you have any questions about the app, or if you have any concerns, or if you want to make some suggestions with it, I'm all ears. As I think that I've covered all my bases with it. We have so much in there: alerts, price, all different sorts of data with regards to trade journaling, with regards to tracking your own account equity, with regards to just tracking the markets in general, knowing open interest, knowing volatility, knowing volume, knowing which exchanges that you're looking at global prices. There's a lot of things in there, but we can always add more. So I'm always looking for that. And again, this is something that I want to use myself, something that I actually want to use myself, so I want to make it as good as possible. Anyways, that's going to do it for today. I want to wish you well on this nice little Saturday morning. Take care, and see you soon.